Hey, good morning, fellow YouTubers. As part of this build down here, it's going to be a home theater. As part of the home theater build, I had to remove the old windows. There's going to be a wall up here, and I didn't want to leave these old drafty windows buried behind a wall. So I got some glass block Home Depot. They're at the 8-inch square blocks. This opening here is 16 by 33. And when you're measuring for the block, make sure that you don't measure to the top of the concrete, because this has concrete in it, as you know, and you have to take this out. And so you don't measure to the top of the concrete that's in here. You measure right to the bottom of this line right here. And 16 by 33 is a pretty standard window. Now these blocks are a little smaller, and if you use mortar, which is what I'm going to do, then you have to space them. So the 8-inch blocks really aren't 8 inches, but by the time you put the mortar in, they are. So let me show you what I'm going to do. Once I start laying these, I'm not going to be able to see on the outside. So I want to make sure that I have a nice straight line going across. And I want to make sure that it's all even on the inside and the outside. So it's not, it's not going in an angle or something. So what I did is I made this piece of wood up. I measured in 4 inches and I put a mark. Right? But you're not going to be able to see that mark once you start putting your mortar on. So to make sure things go straight, I cut this board and I laid the blocks out to where they should go. And then I put the lines on it so that every one will be just about even, an even space, as you can see. And then when I'm laying them, I don't have to be concerned about them, pitching out or pitching in, because they're all going to be butted right up to this board here, and I'll know what my joint space is going to be because I've got them marked right there. So it's just a matter of putting them down like that. All right, and then the final one will go in here. So this is really a simple job. There's only going to be 2 rows of block, so there's not much that can go wrong with a job like that. These blocks here, I think they cost $75, and they shipped them for free. And then the bag of mortar was another $19.25. So you actually get 8 blocks out of 1 box. And I'm going to be doing several more windows, so I'll have to get a couple more boxes, and the extra 2 per box will end up giving me enough to do a window. But anyhow, let me get going with the mortar, and then I'll show you what I'm doing with that. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is just make sure everything's get some water on it, so it doesn't suck the water out of the mortar. Just wet it down. Then you start packing the holes. If you're dealing with concrete block, you want to fill those holes up. All right, so make sure it's packed down nice and tight. And just do that all the way across. Okay, then you butter the bottom and side. Stick it in. Then make sure you're going to be setting this into the mortar at the bottom, but you want to make sure that you're not really high up, so that it won't reach the top. So, all right, that's okay. So we'll just take that, and all this gets smoothed out later. All right. So that'll be the first one. Then what I do is I'll take my board. But I have to mix up some more mortar before I do this. Take my board, I'll clean this off here, I'll lay this down, and I'll make sure, as you can see, I'm okay with the first one. And I just continue going across. But I have to mix up some more mortar. So when you put your next block on, make sure you cover both edges and the bottom. Even though you've got mortar on the bottom already, these blocks aren't flat, they're concave, so you want to make sure that you have the stuff on them. And I'm going to just pull this together, and you can see that I need some more down here. All right, so I'm going to put a little in there. All right, then you're going to want to put a level on it, and if things are uneven, these glass blocks are really very robust, so you can use a rubber hammer, and you can pound them on them pretty good. Now you'll see that some of the mortar has fallen down. I don't know if you can see that or not. So what I do is just take a little tuck pointing trowel, clean it out, and then pull this whole thing back, scrape it all out, clean it up a little, and then I'll push it back in. Now you're going to have times where the grout just falls right out. All right, or the mortar, it just falls right out. But that's okay. If you have a mortar bag, no problem, just squeeze it right in, but you probably don't have one. So just take your trowel and stick it in. Go from the top and just fill it in. No big deal. As you can see, the trowel fits right in there. Just squeeze that right down. So that's, depending of course on the size of the gap you have, but it just fits right in there. So anyhow, all I have to do now is fill up this end over here, and I'll clean these up and get the second half on. Okay, it's all done. It took about 2.5 hours to do it, and it took about a half a bag of mortar, which really surprised me. Now I couldn't really get it at the top, so what I did was I put wood in there, wood shims to hold it, and once it's dry, I then take the mortar and squeeze it in there. As I said, if you have a mortar bag, it'll make it a lot easier to get it into that top section, but I just couldn't get it in right. So anyhow, but 2.5 hours to do it, half a bag of mortar, and it's really not a difficult job. Now I just have to finish building the wall in front of it and seal it all up. And the next one is going to be a lot more difficult because it's over here behind these pipes. So that's going to take some doing in order to get that one in with the wood right in front of it. But anyhow, that's it. I'm going to have this home theater build on YouTube too when I get around to it. So time to get to work. Remember, if you liked it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Thank you.